Hello CalRTA members, it's Jennifer Baker, your legislative advocate, here with a May revision budget update for you. I have a lot of hot off the press information that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of. I'm only going to be highlighting the major details that I want to make sure that you're aware of, but I do encourage you to go onto the CalRTA website for more detailed information on the budget update that I prepared for CalRTA. This will give you a sense of what's included in the governor's May revision budget. And let me tell you, this is an absolute historic and unprecedented budget. So let me go over some of the highlights with you. First of all, the state government right now is facing a $75.7 billion surplus. So because of that, the state has hit its state appropriations limit, also known as the GAN limit. And that means that $16.2 billion is going to be sent back to taxpayers through various programs that are being proposed, as well as to Proposition 98, which funds our K-12 schools and community colleges. The state is anticipating that we are going to have 3 years of increased revenues that at the statewide level, which is very positive. This year is expected to be the most positive, but the state is anticipating that we are going to be having higher revenues through the years 2024 and 25. We are receiving $27 billion in federal American Rescue Act funds that the governor has incorporated into his May revision proposal. And in addition to this, the May revision includes $24.4 billion to go into reserves. And of that, $4.6 billion of that would go into the public school stabilization account, which is essentially a rainy day reserve for our schools. The governor is investing almost $12 billion into homelessness and also is expanding emergency capacity to deal with wildfires. The governor is also proposing a 3-year plan to dramatically increase broadband by providing almost $7 billion over that time period. There are also numerous proposals in regard to climate change, sustainable agriculture, environmental protection, and a number of other areas. But let's first focus on some other areas that I know are the most important priorities for you. That's schools and pensions. So I did want to let you know that the governor has proposed $121.7 billion in overall funding for our K-12 schools, which includes $70 billion in Prop 98 funding and $51.7 billion in other funding for schools. This brings the total amount of funding for schools again to $121.7 billion, which means that we're looking at approximately $13,977 in per pupil funding. Because the state has also reached its state appropriations limit, there is an expected $8.1 billion in additional funding estimated to go to Proposition 98, but that is not proposed to be included until the 2022-23 budget. But that's a significant amount of money, so I'm sure that's going to have an impact on where some of the budget discussions are going to go for this particular budget. There's also a proposed compound COLA of 4.05%, an additional deferral buy down on the K-12 side. On community colleges, the budget is actually proposing to eliminate all existing deferrals. There is also a significant expansion of transitional kindergarten, moving to traditional kindergarten to universal transitional kindergarten. So that has a number of additional funding and classroom changes that are going to be proposed. The budget also assumes that our kids are going to be returning to full-time in-person instruction in the fall, and there are additional resources proposed to help our schools transition to that, but there is a recognition that there will be a number of families that still may not be comfortable moving in that direction, and so the budget also contemplates providing additional supports for our schools to use the existing systems that they have to provide alternatives for those families should they wish to do so. There's also increased funding for teacher candidates and new teachers, which will not only be a benefit for our schools, but that actually has an additional benefit for CalSTRS to ensure that we have a better ratio of both active to retired teachers, which helps the overall stability and funding for CalSTRS. So that's really a twofer. And then additionally, we're seeing a COLA provided for special education, as well as a significant amount of additional new funding for special education. On the health side and senior side, we also have significant expansions and recommendations to implement the Master Plan on Aging. Those of you that were able to participate in the workshop that I put together during our most recent conference are going to understand this, but if you'd like to learn more, go on to the CalRTA website on the Master Plan on Education workshop that I provided during the conference, and you'll be able to find out more details. But ultimately, some of the items included to implement Master Plan on Education recommendations include providing senior nutrition, significant expansion on understanding and helping to assist with Alzheimer's, as well as helping seniors that might need or might already be using adult protective services to ensure that our senior population is adequately supported and protected in all areas. There's a dramatic expansion of childcare and costs associated with providing the childcare, as well as a significant increase in costs to address the pandemic. And then last but not least, one of our most important items is CalSTRS, this California State Teachers Retirement System. The budget does include a $3.9 billion payment for the state to cover the state's contributions to CalSTRS, and it also proposes an additional $140 million payment by the state as an extra payment to deal with the state's contribution of the existing unfunded obligation. That additional $140 million payment is estimated to save the state approximately $1.1 billion through the life of the existing shortfall plan, which will end in the year 2045-46. I know I've covered quite a bit of information very quickly. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the CalRTA website. You can read my budget summary, and I look forward to providing you additional information as we move forward. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend.